True Patriot Love exists to support those who serve their families and those who have served, our veterans, in a range of ways. We recognise the pressures on our serving families as they face multiple deployments, as the stresses of service are only increasing. We also support their transition as they come out, either through employment, mobilising the private sector behind employing veterans. We'll also obviously have medical issues if they're medically releasing, and so we provide a lot of rehabilitation recovery programs. Finally, we help them back into the community, because often, even if you've served and you've had a good transition, you've still lost that sense of purpose, you've lost the band of brothers and sisters that you had while in uniform. And so the connection between programs, medical support and research is proven many times over, and we're delighted at True Patriot Love to be working with SIMBA on that as we build out the role of True Patriot Love as Canada's national foundation.
Because of SIMVR and the True Patriot Love Foundation, it has opened up so many research possibilities. Pain and PTSD co-occur quite often, especially in military veterans. They're under a lot of emotional stress, they're under a lot of physical stress, and so for some of them, pain and PTSD is a reality.
I was involved with the Canadian Institute for Military and Veteran Health really from the beginning, so I was attended the first meeting that they had in Kingston. The benefits are kind of the value of SIMVR is that it combines both military mental health, but also all areas of other aspects of physical health and chronic pain. And it really values the benefits of those with lived experience.
True Patriot Love and SIMVR were instrumental in us actually testing this intervention called Couple Hopes that my team and I developed. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't know is that the most robust and consistent predictor of people ending up with PTSD after trauma is their interpersonal environment.
I'm the clinical director for the Nova Scotia Operational Stress Injury Clinic, and as part of my role, I also lead the academic activities such as doing research in order to further improve healthcare for military veterans. So SIMVR has a very helpful way of funding research in a variety of ways. And one of their funding calls was to use True Patriot Love funding provided to them in order to support some of this type of somewhat unusual research.
One of the benefits of SIMVR is that they do provide opportunities for researchers and for clinicians to do some research. And kind of within specifically that I'm going to talk about is really the Invictus Games Legacy Project. So on my clinical side, over the years, I've seen the benefits of physical activity and exercise benefiting a lot of my patients or veterans as part of their recovery.
My interest as a psychiatrist and as an epidemiologist really came through trying to understand what the impact of combat and peacekeeping duties on military members during their deployment, post-deployment, what's the impact not only on post-traumatic stress disorder, but depression, substance use.
We found that when people have intrusive PTSD memories, they're more likely to have more severe chronic pain. And inversely, when they're very anxious about their pain, they're likely to have worse PTSD symptoms. And so this starts to tell us a little bit about why is it that these things are so tough to treat together? And it's because features of chronic pain make PTSD worse and vice versa.
True Patriot Love supports the veterans and the health of veterans and the well-being of veterans. We aimed at finding ways to make rehabilitation more accessible.
The True Patriot Love grant was really essential. So we were able to follow a cohort of Canadian active military members that were assessed by Stats Canada in 2002. And then 16 years later, Stats Canada was able to go back and re-interview 3,000 active military, and some had become veterans. So this was the first study in the world where 3,000 active military members were assessed for mental health and deployment history, and we were able to then look at the change in mental health over time.
It was with that funding that we were able to do a test of the intervention with military, veteran, and first responders. And those results are just about to be submitted for publication, showing that the intervention actually has a large effect on PTSD and a significant, more moderate effect on relationships. That funding has been fundamental to us actually establishing this intervention.
This research is specifically aimed at looking at the Invictus Games. How can we spread its impact to people who are not actually part of the Invictus Games? So if we're looking at the veteran population, how can we better support veterans who are suffering from both physical and mental health injuries so that they can participate in activities that are physically activities or adaptive sports in the community that isn't about winning a medal?
We received the funds, which was great, and then we were able to explore different ways to improve access to rehab services and how we could provide rehab services to veterans. That's what we investigated in our project, funded by CIMVR and True Patriot Love. All of the research I'm doing is from what I've studied in my PhD. So I think I've learned some stuff from the veteran and military research in Canada that I could then use that will inform training of other physiotherapists.
One of the main findings is the benefits of both community and family support. And with regards to a veteran's recovery or with regards to their rehabilitation and overall well-being, these types of activities, for example, Invictus Games or adaptive sports, it gives people a sense of purpose and meaning, and also being with other people and their peers. And also support from your family members are crucial kind of in your success and well-being.
True Patriot Love, CIMVR, has been really excellent at noticing the effects of post-trauma mental health problems on families. I want to express my sincere gratitude for True Patriot Love for funding Couple Hopes.
Directly to TPL, True Patriot Love, thanks so much for dedicating funds for this important research that, in advance, we didn't know what we would find.
True Patriot Love has been an amazing partner of CIMVR and for researchers for raising funds that can really help around knowledge translation, around building and partnering around research grants, and really taking innovative research that is important for military veterans' health and that can have real impact on policy and, more importantly, patients and families.
Being knowledge informed and having a really good understanding of the needs coming out of the community is paramount. It's important that we spend our money wisely. It's important that we can feed back to our donors the impact of their support. So funding comes from a range of sources into True Patriot Love, and long-standing partnership with CIMVR has given us a really strong ability to connect grant making and knowledge and understanding of issues facing the community, and indeed our policy and advocacy work, and to make those three work in tandem in a reinforcing way is really significant impact from the work we do with CIMVR.